Hi folks, Richard Chessor here, nutritionist and part of the Athleat team. Short video for you today on our favourite macronutrient, protein. Now, protein is one that never seems to be out the sports nutrition headlines, but we're going to try and cut through some of that information, give you some simple tips on protein intake in order to support or increase your muscle mass. So first of all, what actually are proteins? Well, they're quite a complex molecule. They consist of a series of numerous different amino acids all linked together in a very, very long chain. And it's the order and the amount of these amino acids that's going to dictate that protein's characteristics. Now, as soon as we consume protein, our body starts to break that down into those constituent amino acids, and it's from these free amino acids that we start to rebuild or build new proteins that have a vast different array of functions within the body. So the body could code for a new protein that's a structural protein such as skin or as hair, or it could code for a digestive enzyme or a metabolic enzyme. So protein really does have a wide range of roles within the body. It's not just about muscle mass. Now, our reference nutrient intake for protein is 0.75 grams per kilogram of body weight. So a 100 kilo individual would need 75 grams of protein just to prevent suboptimal health. Now, we certainly know that the exercising and resistance training community can regularly consume far in excess of that, sometimes up to about 5 grams per kilogram per day. Which leads us to an interesting question: why would consuming an insufficient amount of protein be a problem? Protein's always in a state of flux. It's always synthesis versus breakdown. Now, if synthesis exceeds breakdown, then there's a net protein gain, but if breakdown exceeds synthesis, there's a net protein loss. So if we consume an insufficient amount of protein, our body doesn't have those individual amino acids to hand to be able to compose new proteins, and as a result, there's compromise in the system. The opposite then is, so we understand then that we need to avoid an insufficient protein intake, but why would consuming more protein be of benefit? Well, simple answer is that an exercising body has an increased protein need because there's greater breakdown within an exercising body in comparison to a sedentary individual. So that increase in breakdown needs to be matched by an increase in protein synthesis from an increased protein intake. If not, then again the system's going to be compromised. But if you do actually want to increase your muscle mass, two things have got to be in place. So first of all, just matching protein synthesis with protein breakdown is not going to be enough. So the two things being, we've got to put excess protein within into the system, so you're in protein surplus, and then secondarily we've got to have some resistance training in there. Now, the absence of resistance training, even with a protein surplus, is just going to cause protein breakdown to increase, and as a result there's going to be no net change. But resistance training on its own is not going to be enough to stimulate, resistance training in the absence of a protein surplus isn't going to be enough to create significant new muscle tissue. So we know that you've got to get enough protein, but too much is going to be excessive and can be a waste. So there's got to be a balance that's got to be met. So the next thing we want to be thinking about is our sources of protein intake. Now, leucine is a key amino acid within the muscle building process, and it's abundant in animal proteins and red meat. But on its own, leucine is going to only have a limited impact. It's really going to be about kick-starting that muscle building process. But it's got to get there. You've got to be able to get the rest of the amino acids into the muscle then to maintain that process and increase significant amounts of muscle mass. And that's easy to do with a nice and diverse diet. So we know that we've got to get the balance of protein right. We know that we've got to eat the full complement of amino acids to support long-term increases in muscle mass. But when do we have to do it? Well, the research nowadays kind of suggests that a regular feeding of protein throughout the day is more beneficial than perhaps 2 or 3 larger feeds. Now, that doesn't mean you need to consume huge amounts of protein in any one sitting. Perhaps only about 25 grams is going to be sufficient to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. And 25 grams is roughly about 3/4 of an athlete chicken breast. So pulling all of that information together, what's our 3 muscle building tips then would be: 1, hit your daily protein needs, and we're probably looking about 2 grams per kilogram of body weight for a resistance training individual looking to increase muscle mass. Second one then is to break that target down into a nice and practical consumption pattern. So if you need 200 grams of protein a day, then it's probably easiest to do this with a 50 gram hit at lunch, 50 gram hit at dinner, and then maybe 3 to 4 other protein snacks or meals, such as a breakfast and a couple of snacks throughout the day. And get it from, then our third tip then, eat a wide range of protein sources, both animal and plant origin, and that's really going to ensure that you get a wide variety, or you get that full complement of amino acids to support muscle function. It's also going to guarantee you've got a much more diverse total nutrient intake than if you were just consuming your protein sources from perhaps dairy, chicken, and whey protein, for example. Don't worry too much about it. If you don't hit your protein needs throughout the day, it's not going to be a big problem. All of a sudden your muscles aren't going to start fading away, and if you're in slight excess one day, then it's not going to be a problem. As long as it's good quality protein, your body's going to find a useful function for it. So that's us on protein. Thanks very much for watching, and stay tuned to the Athleat website.